Yeah, here we go now, baby. Right back into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Monday edition of Before You Bet. You're live right now on the Covers YouTube and X channels. Great big show planned for you guys today. Another Monday Night Football doubleheader coming at you. We have 6 total bets for each of these games. We're going to recap a little of the action, what we saw yesterday in the NFL. And at the halfway point of the show, Brad Powers will be by to discuss all the action we saw in college football out of the weekend. What a fourth quarter between Georgia and Alabama. He has a couple of best bets to give out as well, trying to get ahead of some of these numbers. If you guys want to participate in the show, very easy to do so. Just hit up that live chat on YouTube and on X. A couple of people in there already. NASCAR expert says, let's go Titans money line. I completely disagree with that. I'm hoping to be able to remove that from the helmet, but I'm not going to do it. The Dolphins got to win. This is a must-win game for them. The Jets lose yesterday. The Chargers lose yesterday. They got to stay up with these teams. It's early, but it's going to be a hot race here, a hot playoff race. It's going to be tough to get in the AFC, so they got to win this game. They got to win next week against the Patriots as well. So more Dolphins talk here within a matter of seconds. If you guys like this show, if you like the content we do here at Covers, make sure you are subscribed to the Covers YouTube channel, covering everything that there is to cover in the world of sports betting right here on the Covers YouTube channel. Subscribe button right down there. Okay, let's bring in my guy. Let's get into it. The man with the sexiest smile in all of sports.
Joe.
Jingles. A bit of a wacky day. Once again, in the NFL yesterday, we have another, I wouldn't say a big favorite, the Jets, but a favorite of 5.5 or more, which I think the trend is just losing all over the place. Absolutely crazy. How'd you make out yesterday?
Missed a couple ladder spots. It was Funky Town for sure. I mean, it's been Funky Town for 4 weeks now, right now. So, I mean, Falcons win without scoring. They scored 26 points without an offensive touchdown. That was nuts. The Bears finally got DeAndre Swift going in the run game. Let's not that 31-29 score fool you in Minnesota, Green Bay, because the Vikes were up big early in that one. Joe Flacco. How about some Joe Flacco? I bet people in Cleveland want Joe Flacco back after what we saw in the second half with Deshaun Watson in back-to-back weeks. Just the chance to win games versus 2 of the worst teams in football in the Giants and the Raiders, and did absolutely nothing. Broncos, Jets, you touched on it. I mean, that's about as ugly as a stat line as a winning quarterback can have with Bo Nix. And the Eagles are broken. The Eagles, I know nobody was there, Joe, but as a backer, if I got Jalen MVPs, I got them division stuff. It's ugly. It's ugly in Philadelphia.
Speaking of ugly, Crazy Carl says, felt really nice having DeAndre Swift on my fantasy team benches after starting him. That was pretty common. I saw quite a few people tweeting about that there yesterday. That is the way she goes. Brent Hall saying Caleb Williams, the first number 1 pick to win his first 2 home games. Is that true? Okay, yeah. Caleb Williams certainly trending in the right direction. Okay, let's talk winners and losers, our biggest winners and biggest losers of the day yesterday. Let's start with the positive. I'm going to get us going here. My 3 biggest winners of the day in the NFL yesterday. Let's start with King Henry in the Baltimore Ravens. This team looked to be in trouble here. They start 0-2, but they rebounded nicely, winning in Dallas last week and blowing the doors off the Buffalo Bills there. Last night, the Bills red hot coming into that game. So Derrick Henry has now rushed for 350 yards in his last 2 games. Still very much in his prime here. Hopefully his body can hold up as the season goes on. More impressive, though, I think, was the defense. That defense had a lot of question marks coming into this game. You know, they lost Mike McDonald, who we're going to be talking a little bit about here in a couple of minutes. But the Bills' offense came into that game an absolute buzzsaw, averaging around 37 points in the first 3 games. The Ravens held them to 10 points in that game, 3 for 13 on third down for the Bills. Just absolutely brutal. So good for the Ravens. They look like they're back to being a Super Bowl contender once again. My second biggest winner of the week, let's go Cliff Kingsbury and fans of the Washington Commanders. So Kingsbury was he was a big-time punching bag, deservedly so in some cases, on his way out the door there in Arizona as head coach. The Cardinals, so they were happy to let the door hit him on the way out. He took a year off last year. I think he was in college actually last year, but he's back in the NFL, offensive coordinator for the Commanders. And some coaches are meant to be coordinators. Maybe that is the case here for Cliff Kingsbury, but he returns to Arizona yesterday and devised a game plan, which led to 42 points and 449 yards of offense. Washington, fourth in yards per play so far this season. One of the best offenses in the NFL, cannot be denied. And good for Commanders fans. That franchise, one of the laughing stocks of the NFL, mainly because of Daniel Snyder and the play, obviously, of, the past couple of years. But it looks like they got a good one. Jaden Daniels looks like an absolute stud here. So they could be setting up for success for a very long time. So congratulations to Commanders fans. And number 3, my third biggest winner, they're in this category every week. The undefeated Minnesota Vikings. They're up 28-0 at halftime, or in the second quarter, I think it was, at Lambeau Field. Good for them. Sam Darnold just keeps on trucking along here. It's good to see him. He was set up to fail early in his career. A lot of adversity. He stuck with it, though. Many years later, he is reaching his potential. They travel to London to take on the Jets here in week 5. Looking forward to that one. So those are my 3 biggest winners of the week. And we'll give some honorable mention to Tom Brady here. He got off to maybe a bit of a rough start with his broadcasting career, a lot of criticism in week 1. But I think he came out swinging here in this game. He was on the Falcons and Bucs game and, throwing some shots at Baker Mayfield. I'm a fan of Baker Mayfield, but it seemed like kind of a stupid comment he made coming into the season. Like the guys wanted it to be more fun and more relaxed around here. Kind of a shot at Tom Brady. Tom Brady did not like that, and he didn't hold back. So good for Brady. I thought he was pretty good on the call of that game there yesterday. Okay, Jingles, your 3 biggest winners of the week in the NFL. Who you got?
I'm going to touch on your Commanders first before I get to my list here. Plus 260 to win the division, plus 130 to make the playoffs right now. And maybe they'll be jumping into the winner section next week because that's kind of what we're seeing with some of these teams. And that's kind of where I am with Minnesota. I mean, it's not – we've gone through everything. We've gone through the coaching. We've gone through Sam Darnold. We've touched on everything within this week. And I think now – as bettors, I have to tip my cap to guys like Hitman and guys who were on them early in the year and their 7.5 win total because everybody was having them to finish in the bottom of that division. And look at what's happened so far. And it's legit. I mean, they're halfway already to their win total through 4 games. So that's where we are with that. Back to the Commanders. Rushing success, absolutely insane. They had 4 more rushing touchdowns on Sunday. Brian Robinson has 3. Jaden Daniels has 4. And the number 3 role between Eckler and now Jeremy McNichols, who had 2 touchdowns yesterday. Boom. There's a lot going on there. I'll be looking to see where Eckler comes in next week or if it's McNichols because I'll be looking for some more touchdown prices for basically everybody there. And finally, Nico Collins needs some respect. Everybody's loving Malik Neighbors. I mean, this guy is number 1 in receiving yards by over 100 yards over Malik Neighbors on 5 fewer catches. He put up his 4th 150-yard game with CJ Stroud in 19 games. That is incredible. And this is a man who 75-1 started out offensive player of the year, got him 19-1 after week 2, dipped, but he's in that 11-1 rate right now. And I think that's a buy.
Yeah, the Vikings, 3 wins already versus playoff teams from last season. And it's kind of funny with the Green Bay Packers, 0-2 with Jordan Love, but 2-0 with Malik Willis at quarterback, right? Now, the competition a little bit different in those 2 games. I think that would be fair to say. But fun season so far. Speaking, I touched on the Arizona Cardinals. I'm a bit worried about them. I thought they were going to be a little bit more scrappy coming into their season. The offense has sucked for them the past 2 weeks here, though. So, we shall see. Okay, let's get into my biggest losers of the day there yesterday. And we're going to start with the Jets, Jets, baby. And my favorite type of coverage on the New York Jets is the sky is falling type of coverage. And that's what we're getting today across the sports media landscape. What an absolute joke. Really, Jets? That's how you perform at home? Extra rest? with that team coming to town. The Denver Broncos, one of the worst teams in the NFL, probably. So I talked about that win over the Patriots last Thursday, and I said, hey, this maybe is what it will be to get this Jets team going. Some good vibes. They beat the crap out of a team at home, a standalone games. Everyone got to see it. Aaron Rodgers looked good. And this is how they respond to that. Completely and totally undisciplined. 13 penalties for 90 yards. That's on Robert Saleh. And by the way, the Broncos threw for 60 yards in that game, and they go on to win the game. So that performance alone absolutely sucked for the Jets. But here's what the Jets have coming up. 4 of their next 5 games come against the Vikings, Bills, Steelers, and Texans. They could be in a lot of trouble. The wheels could start to fall off here. People could start to turn on this coaching staff. My second biggest loser of the week, it's going to be the Cleveland Browns. So they go into Las Vegas. It looks like a pretty good situation for them. The Raiders suck. And keep in mind, they're without their best offensive player, Devontae Adams, and their best defensive player, Max Crosby, in that game. Cleveland gets a 10-point lead in that game, but they absolutely blow it. This offense is bad. And Deshaun Watson sucks, but it's not all on him. Last in yards per play. Last on third down, they've allowed a league-high 19 sacks. The Browns are in a lot of trouble, ladies and gentlemen. And my third biggest loser of the week, he's probably going to be the only time he's on this list all season, Patrick Mahomes. So a bit of a sluggish start to the season. He's thrown some really bad interceptions. One of these interceptions this season, a real freak play. It's going to be season-long negative consequences. So he throws an interception to the Chargers. He goes after the guy trying to make a tackle, makes a very poor attempt at trying to make a play, ends up colliding with Rashee Rice, who tore his ACL, most likely, and looks like he's going to be done for the season. So the Kansas City Chiefs kind of running out of skilled players. They're going to have to make some type of move here with the trade deadline coming up in, a couple of weeks. We've got some time here. Crazy Carl says, Chiefs fan here, can confirm that throwing a terrible interception and taking out wide receiver one's ACL on the same play is a new type of generational. That was a total freak play, but really, really rough stuff there for the Kansas City Chiefs, who somehow remain undefeated. And that's probably a sign of a good team when you're playing awful, but you just end up winning. You know, people say the referees, whatever. The Kansas City Chiefs, maybe pick up a guy like DeAndre Hopkins or something like this if the Titans start to fall out of it. Okay, Jingles, your biggest losers of the week here.
Gonna call out Dinger in the chat. We'll just pop that up. Yeah, by 11-1, he's referring to Nico Collins after it was 75-1. That comment means absolutely nothing to me. It was 75-1 in the summer. He moved to 18-1 after week 2. I'm not rebuying it at 11-1. I got the 18-1, didn't get the 75-1, but I still think he's a buy at 11-1. There's nothing wrong with taking Nico Collins in that spot. But if you want to retort, go ahead. I'm happy to hear it. Losers of my week, Cleveland second half offense. It's back-to-back weeks in my pick 6. I needed Cleveland for a clean sweep of 6-0. I went 5-5 in back-to-back weeks, both on those Cleveland losses. That touchdown that got, sent back on the holding penalty absolutely hurt. But losses is to the Giants, Vegas. They've scored 31 total points in those 2 games. But in the second half, 13 possessions, 6 punts, 3 turnovers on downs, missed field goal, lost fumble, INT. They've scored once, and it was a TD. And that was the one where they missed the extra kick to get within 3 yesterday. Absolutely insane. Next losers, how about kickers at MetLife this week? And they probably hurt some people's feelings. Obviously started off Thursday Night Football with Brandon Aubrey somehow missing his first 50-plus ever to absolutely sewer the spread in a game that Dallas couldn't get off the field. And then Greg Zuerlein out of nowhere misses a 50-yarder too in the same building in a 10-9 game with 47 seconds left. All of a sudden, Greg Zuerlein's 4-6 field goals at MetLife this year in 2 games. And then I got to crap on Jalen Hurts. They're basically just Philadelphia. I'm so sick of them right now. The offense is lost, missing pieces. I get it, but 4 TDs, 4 interceptions. And if we take out week 2, because just I'd like to take out numbers to fit my narrative, weeks 1, 3, and 4, he's run 29 times, 2.7 yards per carry. You think without his pieces, he would do something better on the ground. He didn't. And Philadelphia's 3-8 straight up in their last 11 games with a 98 negative point differential.
Whew.
It's ugly in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I think the wheels might be falling off here for the Eagles. Nick Sirianni, first coach to be fired, maybe. Who knows?
Doug Peterson was 3-8 straight up before he lost his job too in his last 11 games with Philadelphia. So kind of telling. Hopefully something goes. But 2-3, 2-4. You think they got to pull the trigger if they go 2-4. They like coming out of the bye too.
Yeah, rough spot there for the Eagles. Eagles fans are not happy. Okay, Brad Powers coming up in a matter of minutes, but first let's whip through our best bets for the Monday Night Football doubleheader. Let's start with the Tennessee Titans in Miami to take on the Dolphins. We have 4 props for this game. I'll get us started with Devon A-Chain. I like him to go over his receiving yard total, 25.5 yards. So check him out this season. He is a big part of the Dolphins pass attack so far this season. He's 3-0 against this number, an average of 57.6 receiving yards per game. People talk about how complicated this Miami offensive system is. Well, why not make things easy on the new quarterback here, Tyler Huntley? Just short dump offs here to A-Chain, who already has 19 targets so far this season. That's second on the team. He's broken a couple big ones already, 22 and a 39-yarder. And the Titans have been really bad against running backs in the passing game so far this season. They're allowing an average of 9.5 yards per catch to running backs so far this season. So who knows? Maybe it just takes one big one. They've allowed 115 receiving yards to running backs in 3 games this season. So A-Chain to go over 25.5 receiving yards. Next up, we're both targeting Tyler Huntley. Bets that kind of bleed into each other a little bit. So hopefully we can each hit, get us started.
Yeah, let's go over 16.5 completions. -108. We released it on the Blitz this morning at +108. So I'll take the -108 on the record. Projects for 19.7 completions and a 72.1% win probability. That's pretty massive. That's why it was added to the list in that spot. And as Joe said, Miami is a quick hitting passing offense. We saw, before Tua went down, we saw them just not go deep. He loved passing under. They like to use that running game with those short, basically, passes in that situation. And I think going to the backup will only emphasize this. And I believe that Huntley's being priced as the quarterback he was within a run-first offense in Baltimore. But we've seen Miami on the year passing 60% of the time, which is one of the higher rates in all of football.
Yeah, let's get into that. I like Tyler Huntley to go over his passing attempt total. So his pass attempts set at 25.5. I like him to go over that number here at -102. So look at the game last week. Now, I know Miami was playing catch up, so the game script a little bit different, but still, Skylar Thompson and Tim Boyle combined for 32 pass attempts in that game. Mike McDaniel is a guy who loves to throw. It's not rare to see Tua get into the high 30s, so plenty of breathing room here at 25.5. Miami is 10th in passing play percentage so far this season. And Tennessee not good at pressuring the quarterback, so that could open up Miami's pass attack a little bit in this one, and maybe they give Huntley more of an opportunity to throw in this game. Okay, you are targeting next up. You discussed this one on Friday's show, Titans tight end here. What are we looking at?
We have the over 7.5 receiving yards for Josh Wiley. That's moved to as high as 10. We've seen his 25+ alt overs go from +475 down to +375. So we're on the right side of the market. But now we got receptions. And now we're hitting the over. Big plus money for 2+ receptions for the tight end. Lots of market moving to the over. Passing rolls increasing significantly. Back-to-back games, he's hit this. Second in targets in week 3. So Miami, 79 completion rate to tight ends, 28th in EPA per dropback. There was a lot to like. He finished 5 targets, 43 yards in week 3. And his route rate increased 50% from week 2 to week 3. So maybe not a lot priced in. If he has a big game, we could see this certainly go up. But the 7.5 is one and done territory. And 2 receptions at +160 is a sexy little number for me.
Okay, next up, I have 2 for Seahawks versus Titans. I think the more entertaining looking of the 2 games here, but we will have some options tonight. 2-screen experience. Absolutely looking forward to this one. So, okay, I'm going to start by taking the Seahawks to simply cover the spread, +4.5. And this one, I think this is too many points here. The Seahawks have had pretty good success offensively against the Lions here over the past couple seasons. They played 3 times. The Seahawks have scored 136 points in those games, all wins, by the way. Now, this is something Hitman talked about when he was on the show last Tuesday, and he gave out the Seahawks. So kind of regurgitating a little bit of what he had to say. Mike Macdonald completely shut down this Lions offense last season. As you do recall, Macdonald was the defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. The Lions came to town to Baltimore last season. They scored a season-low 6 points in that game. They were shut out for the first 3 quarters of that game. Seahawks defense, yes, they've been lights out so far this season. Yes, obviously you can criticize the competition, Bo Nix, Jacoby Brissett, and Skylar Thompson, but they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing against those quarterbacks. First in yards per play allowed, second on third down, fourth in the red zone, first in pressure percentage. And look at the offensive stats here for these teams. Not much really separates them so far. So I think the Seahawks are going to, at the very least, give them a game, keep this one close, maybe be able to pull off the upset. And my favorite prop for the game, a little bit of support here for the Lions. Let's go Sam Laporta to go over his receiving yard total of 38.5. I think this looks like a pretty good buy low spot. He's closed with an average number 50.1 in his first 3 games, but he has underperformed. However, look at the numbers from last season, the bigger sample size. He did top this in 11 regular season games last season. Seattle has struggled to contain average tight ends so far this season. They've allowed 172 receiving yards to tight ends so far this season. Hunter Henry absolutely went off against them in week 2. And he has had success versus Seattle and a Mike Macdonald defense last season. Against Seattle last season, he had 63 receiving yards in that game. Against the Ravens, 52. Who knows? Worth a little something maybe. But yeah, I think the number here is too low. We're at 38.5, so a good buy low spot, I think. Okay, Jingles, that wraps up the NFL segment of the show. You're going to be with us on Thursday. What do you have going on this week that the viewers can check out?
Oh, I mean, I'll be watching that baseball game today. Absolute insane spot with the doubleheader.
Ooh.
If they split it, like there's really cool betting implications, like to live bet this game, because I don't think the books will be able to price it, because if Atlanta's trailing, like they're just going to send in the B, C, D bullpen. They're going to throw it away because they need to save their arms for the second game. Both these teams just need to win one game to make it into the playoffs. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the books price this today and where the line is for a team to throw in the towel, right? If they get out to a 3-run lead, is that kind of where it is? You're like, okay, here's the crap bullpen. We'll throw it out there. But certainly some cool betting spots today in that game. And it's just so unique because the playoffs start tomorrow. NHL, boom, coming to Prague Friday and Saturday. There's a lot of stuff going around. So we got college football, we got hockey, we got baseball playoffs. This is I know you agree. I think this is the best time of the year.
I hate that they're opening the season in the Czech Republic.
It's the global series. They always do that. So then I hate
it.
Geez,
Baseball does it too. They go to Japan or South Korea.
This guy hates Monday night doubleheaders too, don't you, Joe? You hate more.
Well, I'd hate them a lot more if they were being held in Germany to open the season. Let whoever won the Stanley Cup open the season on their home ice. It's like baseball going to South Korea for the.
Have to sit there for a 30-minute presentation. Oh, good.
Hater
God.
to the fans here in North America, damn it. Okay, we'll debate this.
Banner reveal, no goal, first 10 minutes. That's your hockey bet to open up the season.
Yeah, okay. Well, a lot more hockey to come here at Covers. We're going to be all over at Jingles host, I think, the best hockey betting show that there is. So, Jingles, thanks for joining. Best of luck with those bets tonight, and we'll catch you again on Thursday.
All right, later, guys.
Yeah, baby. Okay. Brad Powers coming right up. If you guys want to participate in the show, live chat, very active here today. Let us know who you guys like tonight in Monday Night Football. Let us know who you like for the week ahead in college football. Let's get to it. Let's get into the action. Let's go to our guy. He's been waiting in the green room there. Brad, how you making out?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so a lot to get into. Let's start like we always do on your Monday appearance. Take 2, your biggest 2 takeaways from the week that was in college football.
Yeah, obviously I could go Alabama, Georgia game. I could go the big upset, Kentucky over Ole Miss, but I'll use this segment from now on to be in the weeds because I know you're going to ask me about those games here in a second. But in the weeds a little bit in college football. One, I don't have to go too far. It's in my backyard, that being UNLV, who I think upgraded at quarterback. A lot of talk. In fact, there was probably more talk about UNLV than any team in the country last week. And with their starting quarterback, Matthew Sluka, deciding to quit over NIL, lack of funds or payments. And what happens with UNLV? They insert their next quarterback, Haj Malik Williams, 13 out of 16, 180 yards. That is not a UNLV team that could throw the football the first 3 games of the season. Oh, yeah, by the way, he also ran for over 100 yards. They beat Fresno State by 5 touchdowns. If you don't believe me and think that UNLV didn't upgrade at quarterback, look at this week's line. They're a touchdown favorite against Syracuse. Big home game for UNLV. Another one for me, I've been saying this a little bit. Keep an eye on Indiana. That last week, this is a team that was -4 in turnovers, still won the game, still covered the game. You look at their schedule, they're only going to be an underdog in 1 game at Ohio State in late November. Indiana could be the talk of the country here in a few weeks.
Okay, let's talk Georgia, Alabama. I would say the quarter of the season so far, that fourth quarter, absolute dynamite. So I date night with the wife, Brad, on Saturday night, as a lot of people tend to do. And I think, well, I'm going to miss the first little bit of the game. Then I'll kind of tune in. I have the alerts coming up on the phone. Alabama's up 28-0. Said, I'm not even going to bother turning this on. I put the Vince McMahon Netflix documentary on, but I got the alerts coming on the phone. I see Georgia. They're coming back. They're coming back. I better turn this on. So it looks like it's going to be an epic choke here by Alabama, but they don't let it get away from them. They end up winning the game, of course. So 2 performances now, but like Georgia struggles to get by Kentucky in their previous game. Then they have the week off, and then they lose this game, a game that they were down 28-0. So how much, based on those last 2 performances, how much has your overall opinion on them changed?
Yeah, certainly got to downgrade them. I've downgraded them 3 points in my power ratings, which is, pretty substantial for a known commodity like a program like Georgia. But I would say the Kentucky performance aged all right, considering Kentucky then went on the road the very next game and beat Ole Miss already as a 17-point underdog. So maybe didn't dock them as much as other people on that performance. And I'll say this, as bad as Georgia looked early against Alabama, they weren't ready to play. How many teams in the country can spot Alabama 28 points and have a -3 turnover margin and still lead on the road Alabama with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter? I still have Georgia number 1 in my power ratings. So yeah, I've docked them, but I still think it's when they're playing their A game, this is the best team in the country.
Yeah, still a long way to go. Not even at the halfway point of the season. I believe they have Texas coming up soon, don't they? In a couple weeks.
Yeah, they got at Texas, at Ole Miss.
Okay.
So not an easy road for Georgia. But I'll say this: they could still lose one of those games and still make the playoffs. This is the 12-team era, so 10-2 Georgia's still in the playoffs.
Okay, let's talk Heisman. We have a new favorite, Jalen Milroe, the favorite, after accounting for almost 500 yards through the air and on the ground versus Georgia. Travis Hunter up to plus 700 here after playing around 130 snaps. So what do you think of these latest moves? Do you think it's too much of an overreaction based on 1 game? And like I said, we're not even at the midway point of the season. So who do you think the bet is to make right now?
So I'll refer back to last week's show. And if you don't believe me, 27-minute mark of last Monday's show, go to it. I said, hey, if you really like a side in this Alabama-Georgia game, diversify the portfolio, because I think that the winning quarterback is going to become the Heisman favorite after it's all said and done. And obviously, Milroe's the favorite. So that was a decent takeaway that I thought aged all right. I don't have a strong – I agree with the move, obviously, because I thought that would be the case heading into that. Travis Hunter's getting a lot of media publicity, deservedly so. He's playing a bunch of snaps. He's playing at elite level on both sides of the ball. I still question, is Colorado going to win enough games? But I got to tell you, them beating UCF as a 2-touchdown underdog by 4 touchdowns was as an impressive performance as any team's had in any game this year. So he deserves to shoot up and be one of the Heisman favorites. I don't think there's a bet to be made this week because there's not a big game. That's all the Heisman is just reacting to the biggest games of the year. Oh, yeah, by the way, though, next week there are a bunch of big games. It's probably one of the biggest weeks of the entire season, led by that Oregon-Ohio State game. So we'll talk more Heisman next week.
Okay. Ole Miss, they were a team that I was kind of liking. You know, they were just beating the crap out of everybody. You're seeing Jackson Dart kind of creep into some people's mock drafts. And, you know, people were saying the pushback was, well, they haven't played anyone yet, Joan. Yeah, that's true. But they're beating the shit out of the bad teams, doing what they're supposed to be doing. But they come out this week, lose to Kentucky, who's kind of a scrappy team all of a sudden. But should we not take Ole Miss seriously anymore after that loss to Kentucky?
Yeah, I hate to overreact to just one data point, but yeah, I don't think we should be taking them seriously. Definitely not. I mean, they can still make the playoffs, but this is not a national title contending team, in my opinion. Not a national title contending coach in Lane Kiffin, and we maybe shouldn't be overly surprised by it. There was a reason why, if you looked at Ole Miss's schedule, and their win total was 9.5, it didn't really add up, but Lane Kiffin's now got like 15 years of head coaching experience back to his Raiders days. Even though he's not even 50. He's never had back-to-back big winning seasons. He does not handle expectations very well. You know, he had a preseason number one team in USC that ended up losing 6 games. So he just does not handle, you know, success very well. There's still some immaturity there. I'll say this is in the weeds. I am hearing a lot of smoke about Lane Kiffin entertaining the Florida job, which might come open here soon. And I've heard it from a variety of people that I trust, not just some, you know, Joe Q six-pack on Twitter, from people I trust. So I'm not sure this is gonna, you know, the last time we see an upset loss for Ole Miss this year if old Lane Kiffin's distracted.
Yeah, the wheels might fall off. Who knows? Okay, so I love throwing one of these at you every Monday on the show. The will they, won't they make the college football playoff? We know 12 teams are getting in. We've discussed a couple of different teams, USC, Notre Dame so far. And obviously, we're targeting plus money. The team I want to discuss today is Clemson. They are plus 150 to make the college football playoff. We know they got off to that awful start against Georgia. Since then, though, 3-0, scoring an average of 55 points per game. The schedule the rest of the way doesn't look too difficult here. Plus 150. What do you think? Do you think that's a good bet for them?
Yeah, I think it's not a great bet, but it's a good bet. I mean, this is a team that's going to be favored in all their remaining games. I got them currently, you know, expected to be more than a touchdown favorite in all their remaining games. Some of their tougher games, you know, like this week against Florida State on the road. Oh, that's a tough game. They were an underdog in the preseason. Now they look up and find themselves 2 touchdown favorites on the road in Tallahassee this week. Another game, Virginia Tech, who continues to lose, even though Virginia Tech looked good last week against Miami. That's another one of their tough road games that, you know, that doesn't look so tough now with Virginia Tech having 3 losses. So I think this is a Clemson team that should run the table 11-1. And even if they do lose like an ACC championship game to Miami at 11-2 with losses to Miami and Georgia, they're in. So yeah, plus 150 is a good bet.
Okay, we'll throw this one at you. Somebody in the chat asked, is Utah cooked to make the playoffs, or do you think they still have a chance?
You still have a chance because, I mean, keep in mind, you win the Big 12, you're automatically in. So they certainly lost, you know, their ability to – they can't obviously lose another game and then lose the Big 12 championship game and get in at this point. Their strength of schedule's not going to be tough enough. But that was not a good look. I mean, losing outright at home. But they might get the benefit of the doubt. Keep in mind, they were playing with the backup quarterback. They got to bye this week. Should get Cam Rising back after next week. They're still the Big 12 favorite, in my opinion.
Okay. Speaking of Utah, let's get into these best bets here. Brad has 2 of them to give out here on today's show. We're going to start with Arizona, minus 5.5, coming off that big win versus Utah. They're taking on Texas Tech. What side do you like in this one?
Yeah, believe it or not, I like Arizona to continue the momentum here. Usually, you know, I fade teams off big outright upsets, but not the case here. Let's lay the 5.5. That number did tick up a little bit since I sent that out, so we're going to have to grade this at 6 to be fair. But I still obviously like Arizona here for a variety of reasons. Number one, Texas Tech's a little overrated as far as I'm concerned. This is a team that's won 3 games this year by 1 possession. So a little bit, if you look at post-game win expectancy, this is the second luckiest team in the country so far. Just look at basic statistics. Arizona's played a slightly tougher schedule. The Wildcats are plus 1.9 yards per play margin. Texas Tech, despite playing the weaker schedule, dead even as far as the break point on yards per play. So we got the much better team in a decent spot. Let's lay the points here with Arizona.
Okay, next up, a team you've been really high on, UConn, coming off a massive win. They destroyed Buffalo by 44 points. We have Connecticut here, favored by 14, taking on Temple. Do you think the Huskies keep rolling?
We're riding this wagon until the wheels fall off. And right now, there's no sign of any trouble with this Connecticut wagon because they have won and covered their last 4 games, Joe, by an average of 29 points per game. And I still don't think you're paying enough of a premium to back this Connecticut team. There's nothing fluky about this team dominating their opponents. That, you know, you look, oh, were they +3 in turnovers a bunch of those games? No, their turnover margin in this 4-game win streak, as far as the spread, is 0. So, I mean, they are legit beating teams up at the box score. They're beating teams at the line of scrimmage. Their quarterback got dinged up. No worries. The original projected starter came in, and he's a better thrower, and he threw 3 touchdown passes last week, and it's a 10-1 ratio on the season. So they're playing a Temple team that got killed against Army, and I think Connecticut's capable of doing the same here. Let's roll with Connecticut minus the 14.
Okay, there you have it. A couple of best bets from Brad and some takeaways from the week that was in college football. Brad, thanks for joining. As always, we're going to catch you again on Friday's show where maybe we'll have a few more best bets and get into
we'll have 3 or 4 more coming your way on Friday. So make sure you're tuning in.
Yeah, absolutely. And discuss, if there's any more news that breaks. And, like you said, not that many big games coming up this week. But, yeah, we will have plenty to discuss on Brad's appearance on Friday's show. So, Brad, best of luck with your handicapping all week, and we'll catch you again on Friday.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Yes, sir. All right. Okay, wrapping right up here, guys. But the show's really starts to ramp up here. Tomorrow, we have the beginning of the Major League Baseball playoffs. We're going to be all over that. John Metler is going to be by, where we're going to start to go heavy into our NBA futures coverage. We're going to do betting previews on all the big teams. We're going to be doing 2 a day every Tuesday and Wednesday starting tomorrow. And, of course, professional sports bettor Hitman will be with us off the top of the show, trying to get ahead of some of these numbers, some of these week 5 lines. He'll be by with his best bets and discuss some of the biggest storylines in the NFL. Quick recap of our best bets here for the Monday Night Football doubleheader. These are the 4 that I like. I like Devon A-Chain to go over his receiving yard total, 25.5 yards. Going to go Tyler Huntley over 25.5 pass attempts. Seahawks +4.5 cover the full game spread. And Sam Laporta over 38.5 receiving yards. And Jingles gave that Josh Wiley over 1.5 receptions, +160. And Tyler Huntley over 16.5 completions. Let's go, baby. Okay, guys, thank you to everybody for tuning in today. It was great to see a very active live chat. Hopefully you guys will be back with us tomorrow. We get into our Week 5 NFL coverage, covering the Major League Baseball playoffs. And like I said, some NBA talk here as well. So thank you to my 2 guests for joining me today. Thank you to producer Mick for producing. Thank you to BetMGM for sponsoring the show. Thank you guys for tuning in. Best of luck with your bets tonight, and I will catch you again tomorrow.